Okay, just a quick one. Sewing on buttons. So, very quick, 5-minute, hopefully. I've got 3 different types of buttons here. I've got one with 2-hole, shirt button with 4-hole, and that's one button with what they call a shank button, often found on coats and things like that one. So just some simples. I'm using the remains of a emergency kit, and I'm going to take my needle out from there. Then I'm going to check that my needle will go through my holes, because this is quite a wide needle. Okay, so it goes through all the holes, so that's a good start. And then we're going to just take some of our thread. This is getting a bit old and tatty, it's been lurking for a while. Let's see if I can find an end. If we get that safety pin out of the way. Okay, so let's go for the yellow. Okay, so you need a length of thread. When you're sewing, you don't want it to be much more than from your elbow to your wrist. Otherwise, it will start to get very tangled. Right, so here we go. Next time your shirt button falls off, you'll know what we're going to do. So for ease, we're going to tie it in a knot. So I just roll it round my finger once and then roll it off and then pull that down, and that makes a knot. If we've got a double layer of fabric here, just because I was working on a sewing machine. So if there is a way that, if you're doing, say, like a shirt or something like that one, if there's a way that you can come in from behind a flap, that would help. So we're going to come through, the knot will hold it, the simplest one, in one hole, out the other hole, and come back very close, and then come back out again, up through your hole and back down. And you do that 2 or 3 times, well, 3 or 4 times really. 1, 2, 3, so that your button's fairly well secured. And then on the back side, you come through, wrap your thread around your needle, 1, 2, 3. I use my thumbnail, when I've got one, to hold that in place, and then I pull through. So that then gives me my knot. And that's it. That's how to sew that type of button on. Right. I'm actually just going to use one of these threads because it's easier when I'm faffing. Right, so thread your needle. If you can see what you're doing. I need to put my glasses on, I think. Right, thread your needle. Remember, roll it together around your finger, roll it off and pull. Oh, and that will give you your knot. Okay, so we're going to come through again from the opposite side, and we're going to do, now you can sew this 2 ways. You can come either up and down, so back in through the hole a couple of times, come across slightly and come back up the other side. Okay. A couple of times. And again on the back. Wrap your thread around a couple of times, 3 times. Pull. Okay. And then you can, if you are sewing, you can also do it as a cross stitch. Is there something stuck in there? There's a bead stuck in that one. So it's the same type of button, it's just a bigger one that I happen to have on my desk. So you can come in from one side and go across. Hopefully you can see this. Okay. And then when you've done a couple that way, do a couple that way, and you've got a pretty little cross on the end. So you do a couple of stitches each way. I'm just going to do the one because I'm using a very small bit of thread there. Okay, so cut that one off. So you have that. And the last is the shank type of button, which, or beads, those sort of things. But quite often, where's my thread? These are the types that are usually on your coat. So. Sorry. There we go. Roll knot. Come through from your other side. Then you're going to go through the shank. You're going to come back and you're going to do a small stitch through your fabric. Then you're going to come back through your shank again, and then you're going to pull through your fabric. Now, you can wrap your thread further down around those stitches, and then go back through the other side and finish off. Okay, there we go. When you've got fine, thin fabrics, that's the easiest way to do it. If you have something that is heavier weight, like a coat or whatever else, then you may need to extend the shank. So one of the quickest ways for doing that is, if you have a matchstick, but I probably don't have one here, because I tend to eyeball things nowadays. I've done it for so long. Here we go. We'll use the very end of the crochet hook. So if you're sewing on your cross button, let's come up here, and it's going to be something quite thick going through there. So what you can do is you can put a matchstick, or in my case I'm just using the crochet hook, so that when I sew, I'm going cack-handed today. Right, come up through the wrong side of my fabric. So you come up and go over your matchstick a couple of times. Go on the other side. Coming up through your hole. Okay, then come back up through. It's behind your button. Take your matchstick out. And then you'll see you've got quite a bit of thread there. And then you can just go round and round and round and round. And then I've run out of thread. And then you can see you have a shaft. Okay, and if you have longer thread, it probably would help. Right, so let's do that one again. Excuse me. Let's take that one off and have a longer bit of thread. So I've got a much longer thread this time, so probably not knowing my luck. Okay. Right, so we're coming up from underneath. Excuse me.